Hey, what's going on, Ram fans? 49er week rolling along. I got my Rams update here for you. And of all the things going on in the NFL and with our Rams, what are we going to talk about? What is the center of attention? It is a kicking competition in the middle of the year, in the middle of the season, and we'll talk about that in a second. This episode, I'm going to get into a little bit of the 49er game, injury reports, all that stuff. And I'm also going to take a look back, one last look back at that Rams Saints game, some final thoughts on that, snap counts and player grades. And let's get into it. Pretty exciting week. Hey, we're right where we want to be. If you're a Rams fan, 6-2 with the opportunity to stay in first place and put a hole in the 49ers' chances of winning this division. And obviously, what a big leg up we would have on them if we can even the score and beat them in Santa Clara this Sunday. And let's get into the Thursday injury report. The Rams, the only player limited is wide receiver Jordan Whittington. Now, of course, they got Tutu Atwell out and some other guys out, but for the most part, the guys that we are expecting to play are all going to be available. I'd expect Jordan Whittington to be available. And again, this wide receiver group is so deep. Puka's going to be back. Tutu's out, obviously, but Mumfield has shown some promise. I feel really comfortable with this group, and this team is coming in super healthy. So no excuses. Meanwhile, the 49ers still banged up. And keep in mind, Bosa is already out. Fred Warner is out. The defensive end, Mikael Williams, is out. So they are hurting, and limited on Thursday were linebacker Tatum Bethune, center Jake Brendel, quarterback Brock Purdy, defensive tackle Kalia Davis. They just brought over Keon White, and he was limited. He's a defensive end. And then defensive end Bryce Huff is also limited. So they're still trying to figure out the pass rush. I really thought they might make a big trade, a big splash trade, and improve that pass rush. And thankfully they didn't. And I think they're going to have a real hard time getting to Stafford, especially if Bryce Huff can't go. And as far as the quarterback situation, my understanding is they will make a decision on Purdy or Mac Jones on Friday. Maybe they have already made that call by the time you hear this or see this. So 49ers, just like last time, though, they were banged up when they knocked us off at SoFi. So don't get too excited about this injury report. And also not practicing wide receiver Ricky Pearsall and defensive tackle Alfred Collins. So especially up front, man, they are really hurting. A lot of guys out. And meanwhile, the Rams, can't complain about the Rams' health. That's for dang sure. Now, real quickly, I wanted to talk about last week's snap counts. Kyron, 69%, Blake Corum, 22%. They had 77 offensive snaps, by the way. I'd still like to see that tilted a little bit more towards Blake if it were up to me. Davis Allen led all tight ends with 47 out of those 77 snaps. This tight end group, like Ian was talking about the other day, all four of these guys are really answering the bell and playing pretty well. Jordan Whittington had 35 snaps and Mumfield had 30. And, be honest with you, they're kind of invisible in the Saints game. And, I had called Mumfield as one of my players to watch. So kind of missed out on that. A bad call by me. Xavier Smith had 13 snaps, and he had that one target down the field trying to fill that Tutu Atwell role. Ronnie Rivers, no snaps. That was really surprising to me. I really thought late in the game he would get some shots, get some snaps, and starting to wonder about the future of Jarquez Hunter. That Rams must really not feel comfortable with getting him out there at all, even late in the game. My thought process is, if one of these two running backs, Corum or Kyron, go down for any amount of time, even just during a game, they feel much more comfortable rolling Ronnie Rivers out there than Jarquez Hunter. Apparently, I'm just trying to read between the lines here. Roger McCreary got no snaps on D. Rams only went with two cornerbacks the whole game, Durant and Emmanuel Forbes. So Yeah, pretty surprising. I think McCurry will start getting rolled into the regular defense. They can't continue to do that. I just don't see that happening. McCurry, like I said, had some special team snaps, and I think this will be the week I think he gets more snaps on the defense against this 49er offense. Josiah Stewart, 14 snaps, and Nick Hampton, 2 for what it's worth. Now, on the player grades, highest graded players on offense, according to Pro Football Focus, were Puka Nacua with a 91.6, Terrence Ferguson 85.2, and rounding out the top 5, Stafford, Davis Allen, and Devontae Adams. And I don't think we should be too surprised with those numbers. And on defense, it was Tyler Davis, limited number of snaps, but apparently he played pretty darn well when he was out there. And then Cam Kinchens, Omar Spates. We saw that one big stop by Spates. That was pretty impressive. And Kobe Turner, who apparently graded out pretty well against the run, 72.7 overall. And Kobe must have maybe heard what I had to say. No, I'm sure he didn't. But I had said that, he's maybe not known for his run stopping ability, but in this game he played pretty well against the Saints run game. Saints, Alvin Kamara and Neal didn't get much done at all. And then Cameron Curl, 69.8. Now, I should probably revisit this, and Ian talked about it a little bit, the Pro Football Focus grades. How much weight should we put on them? And, I'm kind of undecided on that, to be quite honest with you. I use it as a way of just another data point, a gauge of, who's playing well and who isn't, but it isn't the final grade that I would use. I wouldn't necessarily rack and stack players based on this. And I give you as evidence of that, the Rams' lowest graded players in this game were Quentin Lake, Byron Young, Braden Fisk, Nate Landman, and Jared Verse, all who, according to Pro Football Focus, did not have a very good day. And, I'd have to go back and look. I find that pretty surprising, but there it is for what it's worth. Now, I wanted to compare real quickly the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams. Pretty interesting when you rack and stack these teams' wins against each other. Right now, I think these are two of the best teams in the NFC. By the way, I heard J.J. Watt on the radio this morning, Thursday morning, and they asked him, of all the teams he's seen this year, who impressed him the most, and he didn't bat an eye. He said the Los Angeles Rams are pretty darn good, pretty impressive. And I think, if we've seen the last 3 weeks, it kind of reminds me of what happened with the Rams down the stretch last year, right? Where they just got on a roll, and hopefully that's what's happening right now. They're in the middle of a really strong roll. Couldn't be better timed, taking on the 49ers and then the Seahawks. And the Seahawks, they play the Cardinals this week. So both teams, all 4 NFC teams playing divisional games. So it's a really important week. And, Seattle's playing really good football. And I'll talk about them a little bit when we get to the power rankings later on here in my game picks. But if you look at the top 3 on the video, YouTube video here, for those listeners, I'll just count it out for you. They have both beat the Jags, Saints, and Texans, and they have both lost to the 49ers. And then when you look at the other 3 wins that they do not match up against, the Seahawks have beaten the Steelers, Cardinals, and Commanders. The Rams have beaten the Titans, Colts, and Ravens. So give a slight edge to the Rams there, having beaten the Colts. And J.J. Watt talked extensively about the Colts as well. And he said if they stay on schedule on offense, they're going to be really, really difficult to beat. If you get them off schedule, it's not so sure. But so keep that in mind. And the Steelers, Cardinals, and Commanders are all kind of up and down teams. None of them have been consistently playing good football. And then the Rams beat the Ravens when they maybe were at their weakest. But and then the losses that don't match up, very similar. The Seahawks lost to the Bucks and the Rams lost to the Eagles in a game they should have won. So if you ask me, I think the Rams 6-2 record is slightly more impressive than the Seahawks. And man, and half of me wants them to both to win this week, so we can have 2 7-2 teams playing. But yeah, obviously, of course, I prefer the Seahawks loss to the Cardinals. That would be ideal. Although the Cardinals are coming on strong, Cardinals win that game, and suddenly we have a really messy NFC West, don't we? So, hey, we have no control over that, but we can wish, can't we? Ideally, ideally the Rams get to 7-2. The Seahawks drop one to the Cardinals. Rams knock off the Seahawks next week, sweep the Cardinals, and the Rams are on their way to the playoffs and probably a bye, not a bye, probably a home field game and possibly a bye. That's probably a reach, though. And I wanted to talk about the trades real quickly before we talk to the Rams kicker situation. The Seattle added wide receiver Rashid Shaheed, and that's a good add for them. They gave up, I think it was a 4th and 5th round pick, a little expensive, but they're going to pair him with JSN, Jake Bobo, Cooper Kupp there also. I really like the rookie out of Colorado State, Horton. But they're building a pretty good wide receiver room there, and Shaheed is a guy that can stretch the field. So they're, trying to fill holes. F then picks up there in Seattle a little bit. The Eagles were really aggressive. They added cornerback Jari Alexander, cornerback Michael Carter, edge rusher Jalen Phillips. So addressing, they let some guys walk in the offseason, and I think they're having some regrets in that regard and now trying to patch some holes. The Colts made the big trade. Talk about a team that's F them picks trying to make a run at the Super Bowl. They had Sauce Gardner, a very good cornerback. And I don't know what the Cowboys are doing. I do know what they're doing. Jerry Jones is trying to stay in the news, trying to stay relevant, trying to stay in the limelight, giving up picks for defensive tackle Quinnen Williams and linebacker Logan Wilson. I think there may have been some players involved in those trades. So adding good players, but, I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. You trade away Micah Parsons, and then, I don't know. I think it's just Jerry Jones being Jerry Jones there. The Chargers, with the Joe Alt injury, go out and get Trevor Penning from the Saints. The Jags add a very good wide receiver, a guy Ram fans have talked a little bit about, right? Jacoby Myers. And the Rams add, we were hoping for a big splash, weren't we? Maybe a cornerback. We added long snapper Jake McQuaid and place kicker Harrison Mevis. And that's what's going on in Rams camp, trying to figure this out. The long snappers and the kickers. Jake McQuaid, by the way, ex-Ram, and he's the guy that I talked about him recently. He got in the news for causing a ruckus at his church, or was it a parish? I'm not even sure. I think it was in Ohio. Some shenanigans going on there with the staff, and he was having none of it, and stood up in the middle of a mass or a ceremony and made quite the scene. Pretty angry about what was going on down there, and they escorted him out. And say what you say about Jake McQuaid, but standing up for something he felt very strongly about. But anyways, always a solid long snapper for the Rams, and he comes back to add some stability. Harrison Mevis, well, let's talk about this situation here. By the way, the Rams have said they are going to make a decision on Thursday, so they may have already made that decision. That doesn't mean they're going to tell us, does it? But they have Harrison Mevis, the thicker kicker in camp, and he's a guy he's 5'11", 241 pounds, big dude. First team All-American his freshman year, had the longest kick in SEC history, a 61-yarder, a game winner, by the way, and maybe that's how he earned his second nickname, Money Mevis. Had 12 50-plus yarders at Missouri. This is not as accurate as you would like, but definitely the big leg. And then he goes on to the NFL. He spent a little bit of time with the Panthers And the Jets never got on the field in an NFL game, though. And he improved on his accuracy with the Birmingham Stallions of the USFL, 20 of 21. So got the big leg, maybe improving on his accuracy. So what's going to happen here? What is going to happen in the next, 48 hours or so when the Rams have to activate players from their practice squad? And then the following day, around the game's at 1:25, so somewhere around 12 o'clock, they will announce their inactives. And this would go a lot of different ways. And I'm not sure what I'm rooting for here. I'd kind of be excited to see Harrison out there. But this competition between McQuaid and Ward may already be over. I thought, according to Ian, McVay played his cards and said McQuaid will be the long snapper on Sunday. So maybe Ward was part of the problem. So is it going to be McQuaid and the holder would be Ethan Evans and Mavis and Cardi? I don't know. Alex Ward is apparently out of the picture. Would they keep all three of their kickers, punter Ethan Evans, who can handle kickoffs, Cardi, who is really good at that dirty kickoff, and then the new guy, Harrison Mavis? And I don't expect that to happen, but they did actually pull McCarty off of kickoffs, although he had the opening kickoff in the Saints game, and then that was his last kick. After that, Ethan Evans took over. Didn't seem to help. Again, I don't know if it's the kicker. I don't know if it's a holder. I don't know if it's a long snapper, if it's all three of those. But I think adding McQuaid to the equation is going to at least help them eliminate that as one of the factors, one of the points of failure. Ethan Evans will stay on as a holder, apparently, and then they're going to decide, is it Cardi or Mavis? And I think what they can do is promote Mavis and make Cardi inactive. I don't think they want to move Cardi to the practice squad just yet and make him vulnerable to the waiver wire. Not sure how many teams would want a kicker that's struggling as much as he is. But there you have it. Pretty exciting time if you're a Rams fan trying to figure out who our next kicker is, and it's going to be really nerve-wracking. Whoever it is, man, Rams got to figure this out, and hopefully we win by a couple of scores so we don't have to worry about it. I don't know if I can deal with the stress. Now I'm going to share one more time. I'm going to update this. I have this little exercise I do just for fun. I tell you what teams are done, kiss it goodbye, see you next year. And, the way I do this is there's no go backs. When I say they're done, they're done. And then we'll see as the season progresses who I was a little hasty on. And there might be a couple teams here already. But I already had the Saints, Bears, Giants, Cowboys, and Panthers out. And then 2 weeks ago, I added the Cardinals to that list. Now, the Bears and Panthers could be in the process of proving me wrong. The rest of them, Saints, Giants, Cowboys, and Cardinals, I'm feeling pretty good about. As far as I'm saying they're done, Cardinals beat the Cowboys. How much weight do we put on that, though? Not sure. And then the Raiders, Dolphins, Jets, Browns, and Titans. And yeah, I'll stick to that pretty easily. This is just another a way of looking at what I said just a few days ago. The NFC playoff picture is solidifying already, in my opinion, those 7 teams, and you know who they are. And I'm adding 2 teams. 2 teams, kiss it goodbye, see you next year. It was nice having you. And those are the Falcons and the Commanders. They both lost games. Falcons lost another one due to they had a chance to tie the game, and their kicker missed the point after. I'm pretty sure that happened to them once already, right? And they immediately released the kicker. I don't know what they're doing this time around. And the Commanders, just not the same team. And then Jaden Daniels breaks his left arm. He'll be out for a while. I don't know what the status of him is. He's certainly not going to be helping this team get to the playoffs anytime soon, I don't think. So we're up to, what do we got here? 8 teams in the NFC. and 5 teams in the AFC that are done. Kiss it goodbye. See you next year. As you all know by now, we have partnered up with MyBookie. You can log on and create an account, mybookie.website/joinwithramsup. Use that promo code RAMSUP and you will get up to $500 and fully covered for new accounts. And last week, I'll get into my bets here in a second. This week, I'll tell you how I'm rolling. I like the Falcons in the 6.5 points over the Colts. Colts adding Sauce Gardner, but the Falcons are still, just an up and down team. I think they'll make that into a competitive game. Falcons defense, for the most part, has played well. A couple of bumps recently, though. I also like the Vikings with the money line over the Ravens. Ravens are favored in that game, which surprised me by 4 points. And the Vikings, I was on the cusp of ruling them out, adding them to my list, but they got a big win. So the Vikings, I'm taking. This is a really big game, a game between two teams that we kind of sort of figured would be in the hunt for a playoff spot. They stumbled out of the gate, and here they are, and trying to stay alive. And, the Ravens maybe have a little more wiggle room than the Vikings. Vikings got to start stacking up some wins to stay with these other NFC teams. The Ravens in the AFC North, even though they're 3-5, is it? They could probably drop to 3-6 and they'll still be relevant, as bad as the AFC North is. And I also like the Eagles plus 2.5 over the Packers. Eagles added, really reloaded there at the trading deadline while the Packers were losing Tucker Kraft. And I heard that the Packers were trying to get pick up Michael Mayer, the now backup tight end with the Raiders. Apparently that didn't happen. So the I don't know, Packers in a little bit of a swoon right now, a disappointing loss, and then lose their tight end, and they maybe ripe for the picking for a Eagles team that is added some guys, added some dudes for sure. But hey, don't bet your grocery money. But if you are going to make a bet responsibly and check it out on MyBookie. Use that promo code RAMSUP. Good stuff going on there. Let's move on. What do we have next? Well, here's the picks I had last week. And I actually surpassed Pete Prisco, retook the lead from him, and it was mainly due to 2 games that I had. We disagreed on 2 games, and they both went my way. And so that allowed me to leapfrog him. I went 8-6, 6-8. Neither of us doing really that well. But overall, 91 correct, 44 wrong for myself. Pete, 90 and 45. And this is straight up, Rams up straight up picks, not with the no point spreads here, just picking winners. And last week, you can see how I did last week. I did win the money line, so I get a little bit more back on the bet. But overall, I did lose 3 out of 5, and that's my other piece of advice. I share my picks for entertainment purposes only. So hey, just some thoughts on how I would bet. That's how I rolled last week, and it wasn't my best day. But overall, I think I'm still ahead. I haven't added it all up yet. I'm certainly not down real big. I had a couple really good weeks a while back. Hey, let's get into my power rankings post week 9, just for fun. And got to consider one thing here when you look at these rankings, my power rankings. It's a bit of a mess. I really have a difficult time deciding who should be number 1, but the Bills beat the Chiefs, a Chiefs team that's been playing really well, took control of that top spot, in my opinion. And keep in mind, top 4 teams in my last week's rankings, the Colts, Lions, Packers, and Chiefs, all lost. My number 5 team was on a bye. So there you have it. The Bills at number 1 and the Chiefs at number 2. And, I gave the Seahawks a benefit of the doubt. I put them above the Rams. That was a really impressive road win against, I don't know what I should say about the Commanders at this point, but give the Seahawks credit. And the Rams are right there, number 3 and number 4. Rams at number 4. And that's why I think this could be a big time clash a week from Sunday, especially if they both win. Even if one of them loses, there will be a lot on the line in that game. My number 5 team, the Colts, dropping from 1 to 5 based on that loss. They pick up Sauce Gardner. We'll see how that works. The Bucks coming off a bye are my number 6 team. And then the Lions, really disappointing loss. So they dropped to number 7. And the Eagles, I don't know what to do with them. I still think, the fact that they were so active at the trade deadline is an indication that they felt the same way about their roster that I did, some missing pieces, and we'll have to see if they have answered those questions and filled out that roster enough to make a real run at a repeat here. The Packers at number 9, losing at home, devastating, and losing their tight end, Tucker Kraft, who is having a great year. Number 10, the Patriots, giving them some love. They just keep on rolling, and they are starting to look like a team you don't want to meet in the playoffs, maybe. I mean, we talk about the Bills and the Chiefs and the Colts. Maybe we should be talking about the Patriots as well when it comes playoff time. The Chargers, man, they have been fighting through so many injuries, but give them credit. They, Justin Herbert throws that pick 6 early in the game, and they just get back to their game and pull out a win against a weak Titans team. But that was one of those games could have gone sideways very easily. So credit to them for figuring it out and getting the win. They're my 11th ranked team. And the Broncos, number 12, I saw someone had them ranked, I think 3 or 4. And I'm really impressed with their defense, as we all should be, right? But I just don't feel like they are ready for prime time against these teams that can really put some points up on the board. And that's going to happen in the playoffs. I don't think the Broncos are going to win, 13-7 over the Bills, the Chiefs, or even the Colts. They're going to have to put more points up on the board. That's just how I feel about it. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit, but I just love their defense. Need to see more from the other side of the ball, though. So that's my Week 9, post-Week 9 rankings. And we'll be back with our Saturday morning roundtable and some other good stuff, perhaps in between then and now, and in between the roundtable and the big game against the 49ers. Look for my pregame pulse drop early Sunday morning out here from Rams Up.